I'll just open with karakia. Kia tau mai te maramatanga, kia tau mai te rangimaria, kia tau mai te kaha me te aroha mō tēnei kaupapa, hui e tai kia. We have apologies from Councillor Mailing and Councillor Kinnamon. Someone like to move the apologies be moved. Councillor Hill, seconded. Councillor Murray, all in favour, you say aye. Against, carried. There is no public forum. Any declarations of interest? I wouldn't have thought so. Right, so at this point we'll come over to the report. So as I said, adoption of the annual report. This is in the name of Briley, Charlotte and Mike. Welcome Briley and Charlotte. And I'll hand over to Briley to introduce the report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Briley.
So through the chair, so adoption of the annual report today. We've tabled an amended version of volume 2, which has been uploaded for councillors. We've also uploaded a copy of the Mayor and CEO's letter, which needs to be signed as part of the audit process. And we've also uploaded the final audit opinion. So it's great we've managed to get to audit opinion, everything done by today. So today we've got online as well, we'll have Yvonne Yang, our audit director, available to speak as well, and Graham McGlynn from the Audit and Risk Subcommittee, the independent chair, as part of the resolution to recommend the adoption of the annual report. So I just want to thank all of the staff that helped provide information for this annual report and management support, as well as the audit team, who I know have put in long hours for us to get to the adoption by this time frame. Other councils haven't been as lucky, but we've had a really good working relationship this year with them. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Briley. Thank you for the introduction. I'll come across to Graham. Welcome, Graham. So as the independent chair of the Audit and Risk Committee, I'll hand over you to add anything you'd like at this point, Graham.
Sorry, just the way I had the screen set up, the unmute was hidden by a note that this meeting was being recorded. I had to navigate my way through it, but thank you, everyone. The financial statement process has gone through the audit. It's been a lot smoother than prior years, which is good, but that doesn't mean to say we haven't had our the issues particularly associated with the accounting for Waimea and the potential contractor dispute issues that flow through from Waimea, which we have not been obviously in control of. It's been resolved at Waimea level, but being consolidated into our financial statements, we sort of inherit those issues coming forward. The interactions have been good with the auditor, and there's no major issues, and the subcommittee of the Audit and Risk Committee has resolved to recommend to the board, to the council, that the financial statements and annual report are adopted, and that the representation letters are signed by the Mayor on behalf of the council, which will enable Yvonne and her crew to issue a modified audit report, and it's modified to the extent that there's an emphasis of matter associated with various things to do with the Waimea Dam drawing readers' attention. So it's not saying that it's a problem, it's just drawing readers' attention to the disclosures that are made in the financial statements. And Yvonne, no doubt, will have more to say on that matter. So that's probably a quick summary, Chair.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks for that summary. Yvonne, welcome. First year as leading our audit process, so welcome to the council meeting, and I'll hand over to you for any comments you'd like to make at this point.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is my first year. Nice to see you all, the full council. This is my first time attending the council meeting, and I've got my audit manager things here with me to present our audit report to the council. So you have already seen that we have provided a audit report in relation to Tasman District Council's 2024 annual report. So we have completed the audit as of today, and we have issued a modified audit report, but it only include a emphasis of matter. The audit opinion to the financial statement and statement of service performance are not modified, which means in a plain language, without talking about audit terminology, it is a clean report. This means we were satisfied that the financial statements and the statement of service performance present fairly the council's activity for the year and its financial position at the end of the year. Without modifying our audit opinion, I wanted to draw your attention that the emphasis of matter paragraph we have included to the disclosures in the financial statements relating to the uncertainty over ongoing contract dispute that Grant just mentioned. This disclosure is located in volume 2 on page 69. This disclosure outlines the contingency associated with the contract disputes faced by Waimea Water Limited, which is a council-controlled organization of the District Council. For accounting purpose, it is a joint operation that it's as of financial year 2024, the consolidation interest rate is around 51%. The value of any future resolution cannot be reasonably estimated at the date of today. So this is because the disputes are ongoing and the outcome is highly uncertain. I think that's all I want to highlight to the council in relation to the annual report. On behalf of our audit team, I would like to thank you, the financial accounting team that led by Mike and Charlotte, and also the community policy team that we're meeting to with Briley and her colleagues, as well as all other management and staff being involved in the audit for the engagement and assistance during the audit. I must say that this has been a really challenging year for the local government sector. This is a significant team effort here from the council and also our audit team to meet the statute deadline. And for the council be able to present the annual results to the community. Thanks again for everyone involved. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Yvonne. And again, I'll reiterate the council's appreciation, but to yourself and to your team. It does sound that despite the challenges that there always are, that arriving at the statutory deadline and being able to consider the adoption today is actually a really good outcome, and that obviously requires a whole lot of people to play their part. So from the council to the audit team, thank you very much for the way you've approached it and the work that's been put in to get us to this position. Right, at this point, there's nothing else you want to add, Briley, before I put it out for questions, comments, and or moving and seconding. I'll just reiterate the points that were made by Yvonne in terms of appreciation for our staff right across the organisation who have been involved, obviously led by Charlotte, Mike, Matt and the finance team, but obviously there's also a big focus on service performance, and that comes through with Briley and the team that sit behind her. So again, reiterate Yvonne's comments in terms of the work that's been done to achieve that, and also I'd like to acknowledge the two Grahams and now Annalisa, who are the new member of the Audit and Risk Committee, and particularly Graham McGlynn for chairing that, for the work, and the members of the Audit and Risk Committee who are councillors for working on this, obviously, and making a recommendation through to us today. So with that, I will open it up for comments and questions. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm actually happy to move the resolution if I could, and there is a couple of things that I'd like to say. One, I know I say this every year, when we produce an annual report that has a surplus, generally speaking, the public don't understand what that means. So once again, I think that it's really important when we do our communications that we put a lot of I could make a few comments about the cost of our audit process, but I feel as though I've probably already overdone that in the past. So I'll just control myself in that respect. But look, I was part of the Zoom meeting earlier in the week where, as members of the Audit and Risk Committee, we did hear that there are a number of councils this year who are not going to meet their statutory deadline. And what we heard from the Office of the Auditor General was that actually it's been a really challenging time for councils to prepare their long-term plans and to go through that audit process and then the annual report. And I actually think one of the reasons that we've managed to achieve, should this resolution pass, our statutory deadline is because we do have fantastic staff who work here at Tasman District Council. And I think that Mike and Charlotte and Briley and everybody else that's actually been involved, you know, it's a massive relief when you get to this point and you get that stamped letter and then you can move on to something else. But I really do want to thank you all for the work that you've done and to enable us to meet the statutory deadline.
Thanks, Councillor Mackenzie. Is there a, well, I've got Councillor Walker. Is there a seconder? Okay, seconded by Councillor Walker, and Councillor Walker, you're next to speak, and then I have Councillor Greening.
Thank you through the Mayor, and yeah, thank you for the amount of mahi that's gone in to get us to where we are, and also acknowledge the korero that Councillor Mackenzie has already shared. I guess one question that I have, and I had it whilst I was, you know, part of the conversations around audit and risk, and that is this phenomenal increase of fees that all councils are going to be facing. And what can we do as a group to share the concerns that we have and the impacts that those exceptional big increase of fees are going to have? Is there any lever that Tasman District Council can use to share our concerns beyond what's happening here in our chambers?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. We have made our concerns known to the Office of the Auditor General. I think it is fair to say, though, that the complexity of the audits has increased. And we are a particularly challenging organisation because we both have regional council functions and territorial functions, along with some activities like the Waimea Community Dam and like our forestry operations. The increase in the level of fees is across New Zealand and across local councils. In the past, Audit New Zealand has not been passing on the full cost of those audits. And I think there is a wider review that is likely to be undertaken by the Office of the Auditor General about whether or not the ongoing audit fees are sustainable, particularly for smaller councils. So we have made our concerns known. There has been a level of feedback and acknowledgement about the high fees, but it is in part the cost of doing business. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Greening.
Thank you. I do have a few questions. First of all, I haven't had the fortune yet of reading your audit report. It only got circulated, I think, 9 o'clock this morning, and we've been tied up in workshops, so I haven't got around to reading it yet. But I'm sure I'll enjoy the read. You mentioned, Yvonne, in your summary, a reference to contingency. I'm just wondering, because I haven't had access to that updated report yet, what was the level of contingency, and do you consider it to be adequate?
If I may answer the question, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor Greenie. In terms of the contingencies that we highlight in our audit opinion, that is in relation to the uncertainty over the Waimea Water Dam ongoing contract dispute, at this stage that the amounts that involved is not reasonably estimated. It could be material, and at this stage, there's no confirmation and there's ongoing process to be continued. And we assess this as a matter of emphasis due to the potential amount may be material and fundamental to the report reader.
Just as a supplementary, should that come about and it becomes material, will that affect this report and obviously your report?
At this stage, there's no confirmation or any outcomes out of this ongoing dispute. So that stay with a contingencies in the annual report. Should that process being completed or any indication of the amount being reviewed, that will be considered in the financial year 2025.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that answer. Mr. Chair, I have a few other questions which I've actually pre-circulated, but for the benefit of the public, I thought I would ask them, given also that our Chief Financial Officer has put in the effort to respond and answer them, so I'm hoping it will be a formality. So if you'll indulge me, I do have a few questions in relation to paras 11.2 and 11.5 on page 10 of the agenda. Obviously, first, and alluded to already by Councillor McKenzie, is a little bit of a concern around the fees and what looks to be 85k over budget, effectively a 45% increase, and possibly even higher from the indication of additional costs. And I'll come to that point a little bit later. My first question really is, and I'll run through the questions, Mike, because you've probably got an equal response to each of them, so you won't have to consider each of them. You've already got your answer. The first one is, what do these unbudgeted 85k and possibly additional 40k costs relate to? Can we have a breakdown? Second question, in terms of the unbudgeted audit costs, how much is attributed to Waimea Water's accounting issues from the contractor dispute? Third one, how much of the additional costs are expected for Waimea Water's accounting issues? The fourth one, where is funding come from for these unbudgeted and additional costs? The fifth question, why are these Waimea Water Limited accounting issues being charged to TDC instead of Waimea Water? And will TDC be recovering these additional costs from Waimea Water? And lastly, in relation to 11.5, para 11.5, Audit New Zealand has indicated a substantial increase in fees next year. Has the letter of 29 May 2024 from Audit New Zealand to the Mayor been tabled, and if not, could it be? And what figure has been indicated as a likely fee for next year?
Mike, so Mark has asked 6 questions, but however, he has both circulated the questions and received the answers, as have the rest of us. So you can effectively, I guess, repeat those answers for the benefit of the meeting.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't have my responses sitting next to me, but I will answer the question in general. So what we've got is, first of all, it's not possible to recover any of our audit costs from Waimea Water Limited because they relate to our audit, even though the matters that took additional time relate to the consolidation and the arrangements around Waimea Water Limited. They're not recoverable from Waimea Water Limited. They are a council cost. In terms of the additional audit fees themselves, they are charged to the activity and they'll be recovered from future income streams, primarily that is general rates. If we have additional rates collected this year, for example, as a result of growth, the council may choose at the end of the year to fund some of these costs from those additional general rates. There's not a recovery from any other activity. The audit costs are funded through the general rate. In terms of the unbudgeted 85k and the possible additional 40k, there is a bit of a challenge with a breakdown because we have indications of the additional cost. We don't have a detailed breakdown at this time. That will go through the Audit and Risk Committee as the fees go through Audit and Risk. the conversation around the likely level of future fees is also a conversation for the Audit and Risk Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
In relation to the 11.5, the letter of 29 May 2024, will that be tabled? And what figure has been indicated in terms of a substantial increase in fees?
So I think that related to the response you provided earlier this morning, that no, it wouldn't be tabled and it will be considered by Audit and Risk. But
Sorry, just getting to that point. Through Mr. Mayor, that has been tabled at the Audit and Risk Committee as part of reporting to the Audit and Risk Committee. The indications are for the 2025 year that the billable audit fees and charges will be in the order of $341,000.
thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Right. Anything further? It's been moved and seconded. Thank you, Councillor Greening, both for pre-circulating the questions and enabling Mike to have the opportunity to both provide a written response and then respond today in public. So appreciate the pre-circulation. Deputy Mayor Bryant.
Thank you to all those staff that have been involved with preparing the annual report. Seems like you finish one thing and then there's another project to carry on with. Finish the LTP, then the annual report, and it just keeps coming round and round. So I just had two relatively quick questions, I hope. Firstly, in the agenda, it refers at page 65 around resource consenting and does allude in somewhat to how we haven't performed quite so well there. Will that be addressed in a future report, or is that just really for information? I guess that's probably been to Audit and Risk previously.
So these are performance measures around satisfaction in the notified timeframes.
Correct.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the question being that our performance this year didn't meet where we want it to be. We've still got a level of service which is targeting achieving those statutory timeframes. And there's a number of measures in play to achieve that outcome. And our routine response is a 6-monthly report of progress to the Environment and Regulatory Committee, where we're stepping out the progress we're making towards that. It's something that we see probably will go beyond the next 12 months to get that target back in line, but we are taking corrective action towards it.
Thank you. And I think the next question will likely be for Mike and Yvonne, just in regards to the supplementary changes to volume 2 since the 25th of October, which we had a memo today. Just two questions around that. The roading and footpath assets and the insurance, I take it the yellow is the change. I just wonder if someone could explain why the change and what that's about. Don't quite understand that.
So it's just so we had a paragraph, we're required to disclose our insurance cover, and we do not have, I think many councils, we do not insure roading. The cover is basically we're relying on the 51% NZTA funding. Hopefully that would come through if there was an event. And we decided that it wasn't explicitly clear that we're not insuring the roads. And so we just added that little couple of words in there to make it really transparent that was what was in place.
And what was the changes further down in note 32 around the remuneration? What was those changes around and why?
That was just one of there was a banding change where there's a legislation about putting people in bands. There needs to be at least 5 people in a band. So it was just a really small, change. It was a very small change. And the second change was that we'd included the mayor's expenses, which were purely business expenses that didn't need to be included in his allowances. So we removed those.
Thank you. It's amazing the level of scrutiny that goes into it, isn't it?
There's a very great level of detail. Yeah.
Once again, thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputy. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brian. If there are no further questions, it's been moved and seconded. I will put the resolution. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much. And again, just reiterate all the comment that's been made around the work from everyone who's been involved with this, from Audit New Zealand, from the council staff, and from councillors and independent members on the Audit and Risk Committee. Thanks for getting us to this point and within our statutory timeframe, or right on it. So I'll now close the meeting. That is all we have on the agenda. So I'll close with karakia. Kia horo te marino, kia whakapapa pamamu te moana, aroha atu aroha mai, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou, tēnā tātou katoa.
You're right.
Thank you.